So about a year ago, I noticed I've got this heightened sense of self-awareness. But when I looked more into it, it turns out it's not about self-awareness, it's about too much self-consciousness. So the real challenge is tackling that self-consciousness, the judgment I put on the things that come up through my self-awareness. As an example, in a social environment, I've got the awareness to notice that I'm not speaking much, right? And that's a good thing. But it's the self-talk I have about that that's the problem. So me saying, or me thinking in my head, why am I not speaking more? What should I say? Why can't I think of anything to say? It's these thoughts that are the problem, not the self-awareness. Many people who say they have too much self-awareness tend to say they have this third-person perspective of themselves. But if this observer was positive and optimistic, there wouldn't be a problem. You know, if my observer was more positive in those social environments and saying things like, this is a great opportunity to practice social skills, then there wouldn't really be a problem. You know, it wouldn't be self-consciousness, it would be using that self-awareness productively. Now, this is something that I've just made up, but I feel like people go through 4 stages of awareness. Stage 1 is unawareness of the internal state. So this is when you're young, you're not really in your head, and this can be good or bad. So you might be more confident, outgoing, which you tend to be when you're young, but you might handle negative emotions worse. Then there is emerging awareness. So during your earlier years, you start to notice your internal dialogue more. You might become a little self-conscious. For example, you might ruminate over saying something awkward to someone. Then there is the heightened self-awareness. At this stage, you're hyper aware of everything you do, and you end up being self-conscious about being self-conscious. You can get to a stage where you have healthy self-awareness. So you reach a point where you're healthily aware. You can recognise when you're overthinking or anxious, but you can switch off that rumination. You spend most of your day focusing externally, and when you do need to turn inward, it's not obsessive and it's actually helpful. And a big part of moving past stages 2 and 3 is thinking about yourself less. Not thinking less of yourself, but just focusing on yourself less. Much of self-consciousness focuses on or revolves around what we can get. People usually get stuck in their heads or ruminate about stuff because they're making it too much about themselves. You know, when you're worried about meeting up with someone or attending an event or anything like that, you're probably making it too much about yourself. And it maybe doesn't seem that obvious, but that tends to be the case with a lot of people who feel too self-aware. And for me, that was one of the best ways to be less self-aware. And that was to put more focus on what I can give in an interaction over what I can get out of it.